What is good, ladies and gentlemen? This is Robert, and thank you for tuning in to Station Square. And yeah, here we are, Tuesday afternoon, a nice, warm, toasty day in LA. So yeah, we're kind of out of the winter shenanigans, and now here we are, just getting into the spring season. So if I'm not mistaken, I think the first day of spring is today, or sometime this week. I don't know. Time is weird. Yeah, it's super weird, but anyways, you don't care about that. You care about my special guest in the corner. This is John
Hi.
Stein. So thank you so much for joining me today. And yeah, I'm just really happy that we were just talking about this. Like we've just been kind of going back and forth for many months, but now we did it, which
Yeah,
seems to be a thing on my show. It just
I,
takes, yeah.
I blame. I would never blame her for this, but I partially blame my now 1 year old, and then also the big fires that happened at the beginning of the year. Like that just kind of threw a lot of
Mm,
calendars
yeah.
into disarray. So generally, the going routine is I set an appointment on my calendar, and then my daughter looks at me and goes, "Not today, Daddy," and then it goes away. So I appreciate you for being as flexible as you've been. So
Oh yeah, no. Like I thought I had to apologize because it was the fires. It was also something else. I mean, on my end personally, that came up, which that's such as life. But
yeah,
anyways, we're finally here. That's pretty
yes,
much all that matters. So
yes,
yeah, yeah. But with that said, yeah, let's just talk. Like
sure.
you know, I mean, besides the fires and everything, how has 2025 been? You know, how's everything going?
2025 is it's going okay. It's an interesting time right now. From a career standpoint, there is, like I said, I just had my baby girl Clara a year ago, so we celebrated her first birthday back earlier in the beginning of the month.
Oh my
Um,
God, yay!
yeah, she's a tiny little tot, and yeah, as you could probably imagine, having a kid takes a lot of time, energy, and focus. So I've really kind of taken the beginning of this 2025 year to focus on really just expanding who I'm working with, where I'm working, trying to get in front of people and build relationships with people that I previously hadn't or had kind of on my list or so I just kind of lined up a lot of meetings now that we don't have this human being that needs constant attention just to make sure that they stay alive. I mean, granted, having a toddler is like being on 24/7 suicide watch because you as a full adult understand, hey, knife sharp, don't do that, or hey, drawer, don't slam fingers into. But she's learning all of these things for the first time. But she's finally at an age now where we can kind of put her in her playpen and focus on other things, my wife and I. And so I have met with, gosh, Lori Allen, Emma O'Neill, uh, agents from Buchanan, or sorry, Tada Talent in Canada. Um, and I think we're hopefully starting to see a little bit more life in the industry, starting to push in the right direction. Uh, it's funny. We go through these cycles of it getting really quiet, and then everybody starts to wonder what's going on, and then inbox gets flooded with auditions, and then we work through those auditions, and then yes, and then we get starts to get quiet again, and it's just the ebb and flow of the industry. But it is a fun roller coaster to be on.
Buddy,
Yeah.
ain't that the truth? Because
Yes.
right now because I also work as a voiceover artist, and the amount of ebbs and flows, it's kind of like this. You're on a roller coaster, like you're kind of going upwards, and then you go down, and then
Hmm.
and then you kind of go on this little slow, whatever. It's kind of like, it really is a roller coaster where it's like you
Hmm.
go up and down, kind of ebbs and flows, but then you kind of get to the section where it's just like it stops and then you're not moving.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of moments where we just don't really have a lot of momentum per se, but
Mm.
I think those are kind of like the times where, if you're kind of stuck in a roller coaster, what do? Improvise. Not
Yeah.
really wait, but just something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I
Whether it's,
think
yeah.
I think because it's there's so little control that we have
Mm,
to outside of what we bring to the booth, right?
yeah.
So my comparison is, and as somebody who has, so my background is I went through traditional university training, spent 4 years studying theater, performing on stage, and it's very much about getting visceral feedback. So whether it's the people you're on stage with, the people that are sitting in the audience, like you can feel the palpable return on what you're putting on stage. And even when you go in for an audition in the stage world, you can hear a laugh from the people that are auditing. You can, hear a gasp. There's something there that's tangible. And so you can really feel like, oh man, I killed it in there. Or, oh man, I really did not have a good audition. And then when you go to like film, then you're eliminating the audience. Everything is so controlled. You have to repeat the same moment over and over again. It's in front of a camera. So there's a lot more control, a little less of that visceral feedback. And then, you and I as voice actors, we take that third step and it's like, well, now we've removed the audience and we've removed the auditors and we're just in a booth by ourselves speaking into the mic and going, okay, and send. I don't know. I don't know if that was any good. I don't know if that was any bad. I just sent it out there and we'll see. And so, yeah, it's easy when those quiet times start to happen where there's a tendency to start trying to figure out, okay, what's broke, what isn't, can I fix it, should I fix it? Very easy to kind of get in one's head, but there's so many things happening outside of just you going into the booth and sending out your stuff that I mean, I've heard this from casting directors, actors, etc. And there's like 99% of what's happening to quote unquote get you the job isn't you. So hopefully that takes a little bit of that pressure and that roller coaster ride is a little less intimidating. Just knowing that, I mean, still can be very frustrating, but hopefully a little bit more approachable.
That is a very interesting way of putting it because, yeah, most of the work that we do is auditioning. Like,
Hmm.
you're auditioning from one project to the next. Like, you could be auditioning for a video game, and then the next thing you know, you're reading for a TV show or a promo. There's a lot of work out there, but at the end of the day, no one like the only person that's gonna make the audition unique is yourself. So,
Exactly.
and it's so interesting, and I'm so glad that you brought up, your training because you've done a lot of theater and improv. So, would you say that a lot of those skills that you bring to the table, having that training has really helped you grow immensely as a performer in a way?
Oh, I without a doubt. And there are several ways to fill your cup. So one thing that it's Rob Paulson always says this in his podcast.
I love Rob.
It's hard not to.
I,
But
yeah.
little V, big A, and it's like
Yep.
you can go about this path several different ways. Mine was I started off as an actor. I went down the improv route. I actually was trying to get on Saturday Night Live, like the 10,000 other comedians around me. Um, and to be fair, I want to level set here. Uh, I did not even scratch the surface compared to some of my colleagues who were interviewed, like went in front of Lorne Michaels, Chris Redd, if you remember him from Saturday Night Live. He and I were contemporaries, so like he opened for us. We opened for him in Chicago, and then he got the like he got through to SNL. But my original goal was to get on that show, not realizing that's like saying, "Oh, I'm pretty good at baseball. I'm going to play for the Yankees." There's a lot of steps that need to happen in order for that to go forward. And so uh, I was fortunate enough that I had already developed a stage background and an improv background, and I could think on my feet. And that's when voiceover found me. Um, my first my first mentor, Casey Altop Misey, although I think she's remarried now. uh, Casey pulled me off stage off a show in Detroit, of all places, and said like, "Hey, you've got a really nice voice. you should do voiceover. And I was like, yeah, I get that all the time. I don't really know the path to getting into that. And, I'm kind of getting sick of people telling me to do this. So, and she goes, well, I've worked in voiceover for the better part of a decade. And if you're done being a jerk about it, I could actually teach you some of what I know. And yeah, she took me on as a mentee and taught me things like basics, like mic technique and how to spotlight, how to do legal copy, just sort of the all around tricks of the trade. And then that kind of set me on that path. And what really changed my mindset was I was still very focused on that SNL goal, and voiceover was just a side thing. And it wasn't until the people that I knew that were actually auditioning for Lorne Michaels and performing professionally for Second City and doing all these things came to me and said, hey, how do I get where you're at? And it was that mind switch of, oh, there's something here. This is a career opportunity here. I'm still going to keep doing like the improv and stage stuff for fun, but maybe I should invest my time and energy into voiceover. And yeah, I would say the majority of classes and workshops and whatnot that I've gone to uh, since then, they're very big on, hey, take an improv class. Hey, take an acting class before you even get in front of a mic. Take an acting class. And I'm fortunate enough that I didn't get in front of a mic until I had already gotten years of experience as well as a bachelor's degree in theater. Um, I would say the only drawback is, when you come from a stage background, you very much easily want to project for the entire audience to hear, not realizing that this thing modifies your voice and you can get really quiet. There's no audience that's really listening in. So it does make a difference. And I've even been told by some by some directors, hey, we loved your improv. You kind of wrote your own script. Go back to the 6 words that we have on there and use it as a little bit of a spice as opposed to just coating the dish in it, if that makes sense. But I digress.
There is just so much that I could go off of that.
Please do.
First off, great mic technique. I don't think it's something that I really discuss on the show too often,
Oh,
but honestly, there's other podcasts that kind of discuss that type of thing. But
yeah.
yeah, I just really think that it's really cool. And going back to Chris Red though, I remember, if I recall, was he on Chicago PD?
I'm gonna guess yes. I only say I guess because I back when I lived in Chicago, the Dick Wolf Chicago Fire PD that universe they've created they cast a lot of Chicago locals.
Yeah, because I was just asking because I think I remember seeing him on that show, and I do remember Saturday Night Live, which when you mentioned his name, I'm just like, okay, huh, that is a name that, yeah, wow, that takes me back.
Yeah, I don't think he's
Yeah,
been on for probably about 10 years now. Oh God, it can't be that long.
oh
It's been
my,
a while since he was on, but he was sort
yeah.
of that guy in my
But I
immediate
sort of
circle or
remember him. Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm just like, I wanted to go back to that real quick.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I just really think that it's so cool that, you've done a lot of this stuff and getting your start in the industry. But I do wanted to mention just real quick with Lori Allen because I think I'm going to see her this Saturday. So
Oh, awesome.
just little self plug in. WonderCon is this weekend here in Anaheim, so I'm going to be attending, and it should be fine. Like I
Nice.
normally don't do like an entire weekend because time and money, but
Yeah.
yeah,
There's a
Saturday
lot of
is
lot
kind
of
of
long time to spend in that one of those convention centers. Uh,
exactly. Yeah. So I just wanted to plug that real quick for anybody that might be interested. But yeah, and also Tom Kenny, SpongeBob, and some
mhm.
other ones that might be there. So yeah, it should be a lot of fun. So just also
Nice.
wanted to throw that out there too. Let's see. Let's talk about some of your work because I know you
Yeah,
mentioned so after you got your training, doing like I think you're originally from like Cincinnati or something, and
that's
then
right.
you made the move to LA. Was it kind of like a culture shock to you when you actually moved out here?
Yes, yes and no. So. I it was a culture shock, just hands down, because I came so after Cincinnati, I moved to Chicago and was there for about 8 years. And Chicago, it has the big city feel. It is a big city. Um, it also gets wickedly cold through a good half of the year. But also Chicago has like a public transportation system. Like I didn't own a car. I was taking the train and buses everywhere. And what ended up pushing me out of Chicago to LA was really I was working regularly enough that I was comfortable. Um, I had been doing regular work for Walmart, Tums. I did a huge campaign for them as a of all things a talking meatball. Um, Goose Island Brew Company. Uh, but unfortunately, outside of LA, really, there's not a ton of opportunity to do the work that we all tend to animation and video games. Like outside of LA and maybe Texas, there's not a ton of opportunity to like be in the next Mortal Kombat or be in the remake of Ghostbusters or whatever's like on the docket. And so I reached this point of like, well, I'm working regularly. I want to do more of it. And my agents, some of my theater teachers in Chicago, my improv coaches and all that all said the same thing, which is there's more work in LA. You should go there. So I wrapped things up in Chicago and spent a couple months back in Cincinnati just sort of getting my stuff together and then bought a car because I hadn't owned one in almost a decade and made the 3 day, 4 day trip. Yeah, 4 day trip driving all the way from Cincinnati all the way to Los Angeles. And it took, it took probably at least a year for me to feel like to get over the, oh my gosh, I'm here element of it. And then another year to feel like I was comfortable here.
Yeah. And since moving to LA, you've done quite a bit of really fun projects because not only are you in the video game Genshin Impact, which is kind of like a big thing that has just kind of been exploding since like 2020 or so,
Yeah.
but you were also an on-site and also you got to be a part of the Looney Tunes legacy with the Bugs Bunny
Yeah.
something something. Yeah, as Foss as the ferret.
Fosse Ferret.
Fossey Barrett, yeah.
Yeah.
So just share a little bit about, all this stuff that you've been doing.
Yeah. So uh, Genshin Impact kind of came out of all things a workshop. I was taking a workshop with the uh, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name.
Was it Chris?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Uh, Taking a workshop with Chris, and it was actually a digital workshop where it wasn't even like this. Like there was no Zoom. It was, hey, I give you the sides, pick a character, send me your take on it. I give you notes, and we call it a day. Um, and there was actually a miscommunication where he thought I was doing one character, and instead, like eh, getting in the mired of the details, but more or less, I was doing the voice of this like this rabbit, this like techno bunny rabbit that, I added something into and kind of gave him his own thing. And he, for some reason, thought I was doing this other character, which was like this bulldog. This is the kind of weird stuff you get into when you do voiceover is, yeah, it's a techno rabbit. It has a computer for an eye. It kind of looks like Cyborg if it was bit by a werewolf, but the werewolf was a bunny. Um, so I had done this bunny character thinking, okay, got it. And he's like, well, this sounds nothing like the character sheet. This is a bulldog. He should sound like this. And I'm like, well, you're wrong, Chris. I actually was trying to do it for this bunny, but I took your notes for the character that you thought I was doing, and I came back with two auditions. So I did one for the character that he thought I was doing and took those notes into account, but I also listened to the notes that he gave another actor who had done the character that I had originally planned on doing. And so I said, hey, happy accident, but here's two auditions back to you. And he's like, oh my gosh, well, first of all, you're right. This perfectly fits what the bunny character looks like, but also I really liked what you did on the bulldog character. this is fantastic. Like, make sure that I have your contact info after we're done here. And sent him my info, and then I get a outreach from my agent saying, "Hey, uh, Chris Faela, he just reached out, and it looks like he wants to bring you into a video game called Genshin Impact." So and I'm on the older side. Like, I didn't realize how big Genshin was. Then I looked at the IMDb and saw like, oh, every voice actor has worked on this. Awesome. And that it's just this constantly expanding universe where they keep adding new lands and countries and characters. And oh boy, like I am very boring in my video game playing. I have been playing Zelda Breath of the Wild because it's one of those games I can pick up, play for a little bit. Up, baby's crying. Okay, pause, come back. Great. My days of being able to sit and play immersive storytelling games uh, are they're behind me, but hopefully ahead of me at some point.
I
But
got
yeah,
to Yeah, I got to replay Breath of the Wild now that you mention it.
right before my kid was born, I bought myself a Switch Lite because I'm like,
Okay.
I just need something because I was used to like having my PS4 setup and like being able to
Yeah.
blast everything on the TV and surround sound and all that, and it's like, nope, no screens. It's quiet now. Baby's sleeping. Like, okay, well, I'll just pull this out. But yeah, so I got involved with Genshin, and the cool thing about Genshin from a voice actor's perspective is the fact that they continue to build onto these worlds. And if Chris knows you, and Brooke Chalmers, he's also a great director. Who I actually I actually know Brooke from Bang Zoom classes that we took together, and we had a great time, exchanged information. And then years later, he came in to direct an episode, a different piece of Genshin, and he was like, "Oh, John Steins, I have been wanting to work with you ever since those classes." Uh, so two takeaways, and the first was that game continued to provide work because they kept building onto it. So the same character who would say something along the lines of like, "They should touch more grass," like, oh, but now we're also adding in another land, so it's they should touch more grass in land A. They should touch more grass in land B. They should touch more grass in land C. And so I'd get multiple recording sessions out of just this one character who they had to continue to adapt the line. Um, and then the second thing is I worked with Brooke. We got a chance to meet each other via class. Great guy. You never know who you meet, and you never know where people are going to wind up. So all of a sudden, here I am, like getting directed by this guy that I'd taken classes and really enjoyed working with. And I was working with him on a professional level. So that was really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And, for the Bugs Bunny, okay, it was Bugs Bunny Builders, okay. So
Yeah.
it's like this new show that has just recently come out on like HBO. But yeah, just getting to be a part of the Looney Tunes, I guess, universe is like,
It it was really cool.
yeah,
I it's funny. I actually the show recently came out, but the way that these things work is, especially for prelay animation, is the
yeah.
voice after you have the script, the voice is sort of that impetus for the animators to really set to work. And so I kind of started to get a little worried because I had recorded that back in September of 2023. So I had recorded, and then not to get into like the fun back and forth that's happening in the corporate world, but I know that David Zaslav and Warner Brothers have been very picky. I see you taking a deep breath, and for good reason. They've gotten very picky about which projects get to go to full production and what ones are completely produced, fully ready in the can, and they go, yeah, we're not going to put it out there. And so once we hit a year after I had recorded, once we hit a year and a half after, I started getting worried. Like, oh, are they just not going to produce this? Was this just something that I'll constantly tell people like, yeah, I was in a Warner Brothers cartoon. Doesn't exist, but it happened and I did it. And and I've had colleagues tell me their war stories of, yeah, I thought I was going to be the original voice of this character in Red Dead Redemption 2, and then they recast it with a different name, or it just happens. Um, somebody in the chain of command says, "Ooh, I don't like that," or "Ooh, I'd prefer this person take that role. It's again, this goes back to what I was saying before, where 99% of getting the job and it coming to full fruition is outside of your control. So, I'm trying to think of a really good example here. Um, the original voice for the Joker in Batman the Animated Series was not Mark Hamill. It was Tim Curry. Yeah, and I think he either had a scheduling conflict or something happened, and so they brought in Mark Hamill, who killed it. They ended up using Tim's laugh for like a completely different like prop or character, but these things happen. So anyway, my thing was all of a sudden I saw that Kim Lay, who was the animation director on it, posted she posted that she uh, like here's my stills and here's my direction from this episode. I'm like, oh, so it does exist. They did put the work into it, and she was much better about double checking, triple checking the HBO release schedule. And she was such a wonderful person that she'd reach out to me because I said to her like, look, this is my first real project with Warner Brothers. I'm like I'd love to see it like happen. Any idea what's going on with it? And she would like give me updates of, well, they released this on YouTube, so we'll see. And I kind of I'm trying to think of say I blew my load on like telling everybody like, yeah, I'm on this YouTube clip, and then the full episode actually came out like a few months later. But yeah, it came out, and it's sort of that crowning achievement. Like voice actors in general work for years, and I got to originate a character that was in a show next to Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, Porky Pig. Um, and yeah, the next time I saw Bob Bergen, it was at a friend's wedding, and it was like, yeah, we had this session where you were like, hey, it's only a matter of time. Well, the time passed, and here we are. So no, it was super cool, and hopefully it stays on HBO Max forever and ever. Because if not, I'm gonna have to figure out how to get a physical copy of a show that's only available in streaming.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. By the way, just want to give a shout out to Eric, Bowser, Bob, and everybody else in
Oh
the
yeah.
cast who just also are absolutely killing it. Like, yeah, for Eric, I'm just want to give him congrats and Candy, Milo.
Oh
Just
yeah.
go watch the new Looney Tunes, The Day the Earth Blew Up, and support 2D animation. Just
Hmm.
now it's as good as time as ever because yeah. I'm not gonna get into that whole can of worms, but yeah. Like when I
No,
was
it's
just yeah, when I had that reaction, I'm just like, oh my.
artists. It's this fun thing of on one hand, I would do this for free. I love doing it so much. Give me the opportunity to perform. Like I will live and die by the ability, like by standing in front of this mic and then hearing that little click of people coming on the other side and hearing them laughing.
Yeah,
Like, okay, good, that was good. On the flip side, I would like to be compensated for my work, and so
exactly.
that's why I'm a member of SAG. I'm sure
Yeah.
you're aware of the video game strike that's currently going on.
Yep.
Um,
Give me 1 second.
yeah,
Yeah, so just right here. Oh wait. Yep, right here. And you got the thing behind you, and I'm just like, yeah, I've got to
yep.
get these out.
But yeah, looking forward to the next opportunity, whatever comes my way. That's actually why I'm meeting with Lori shortly after this to just break down a script for a pilot that's coming out. So
Borealis?
yeah,
Oh, cool. Okay,
yeah,
nice. Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna be meeting her on Saturday at WonderCon. So, hey, best of luck. Have fun.
thanks. No, tell her I said hi. Lori's great. You'll find that a lot of VO actors, a lot of actors in general, like Lori, Richard Tatum,
Yeah,
Bob Bergen, all want to
yeah.
share what they've
Richard
done.
Horvitz.
Richard,
Yeah,
oh my
it's
gosh, if
just
you
so
can take
many
any
people
class
that
with
I've
him.
worked.
Hmm.
God, yeah. And
So,
funny, yeah. Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
No, I was gonna say like when I took it was like a weekend workshop. It was all virtually like done in
Hmm.
2020. who would have thought it? But
Yeah.
yeah, I wanted to do one in person, but anyways, it was just a great way of getting to know like the who, what. I mean, he really teaches a lot about the play pretend aspect. So as
Hmm.
actors, we play, we make imaginations, and I think Bob Bergen is kind of the same way, where it's more like being a character and what being specific with what we want for the character, and
Yeah.
it's just kind of something that really helped me a lot in my journey of creating these characters and not just doing voices. It's just making characters come to
Yeah.
life.
It
Yeah,
is. It is the again. It's the little V, big A
yeah.
to keep stealing from Rob Paulson, and it's
I mean,
yeah.
you
I
gotta
mean
steal from the best.
it. Yeah. I mean, and he even says it too of like, look, anybody can potentially do like, yeah, what's up, Doc? But you got to be able to like laugh as Bugs Bunny, cry as Bugs Bunny, have these emotional moments because that's what the script demands. And in like Mel Blanc's case or Eric Bowes' case, it's the ability
Yeah,
to be Bugs Bunny doing a Daffy Duck impression to avoid getting shot by Elmer Fudd. Like,
yeah.
and it's funny too because I I personally love getting to the meat of the emotion of it. Like, also I've got a little timer that says I have 1 minute and 17 seconds left.
Yeah, we'll just probably conclude this in the next part.
Okay, but yeah, at the end of the day, no matter how big, bulky, crazy plot lines, etc., with the character, they're an emotional being going through an emotional journey, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and you have to modify it to who are they talking to, why are they talking to them, but also what's who are you talking to from an audience perspective? Like Bugs Bunny Builders is for preschoolers, whereas the regular Chuck Jones animation stuff was not, or at least it shouldn't have
They were
been.
in theaters and they were
Yeah,
released in front of an. I mean, they pretty much made it for themselves. They admitted
yeah,
it. They didn't have like kids in mind when they were doing the shorts, so that's why we love them.
it's true. Very, very true.
Same
But
thing
yeah.
with like, yeah, Rocky Bullwinkle, Animaniacs. Just the cartoons that we watched as kids,
Mhm.
and we still enjoy them to this day. But yeah, let's continue this conversation in the next part. Stay tuned, and yeah, stay tuned, literally.
Okay.
And I'll see you all in a bit. Alrighty, so we're back, and yeah, we were just talking about cartoons and everything. So I kind of wanted to ask real quick, were there
Yeah.
anything that you watched that also seemed to like, I don't know, because now you're working on a lot of this stuff. Were there like
Hmm.
any influences or inspirations that got you, into this path to begin with?
Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously Mel Blanc is sort of the gold standard as far as
Oh
just
yeah, yep,
being the golden age of animation. Not just from his flexibility, versatility, but I mean, what people don't realize, or some people don't realize, is he also came from a background of stage and sketch comedy. Um,
radio, yeah,
mhm.
band.
But yeah, so Mel Blanc, but then I kind of learned backwards who my inspirations were because growing up, I was just watching these cartoons. Like it wasn't until I was already like a young adult and working in the acting industry that it was well, who is this person behind this voice? Like who is uh, who is Kevin Conroy? Like what did he do to get to the point of being the voice of Batman? Like and his story is just so amazing. Yeah, I see your poster.
Yeah.
uh, but like his story, if you're familiar with it, is he was a stage and screen actor. He was a soap
Yeah,
star,
did he do so? Yeah, I was about to say he did soap operas, and
but
yeah,
he got outed during the '80s as homosexual,
that's right.
and
Yeah,
it
I
wasn't
think he did a
until
comic about it too.
he did,
Yeah,
and it was a breakdown of uh, it was really a breakdown of what he went through and not realizing like oh he could be the voice of Batman. Same thing with Rob Paulson. It's like I
yeah.
grew up watching Animaniacs and I could
Oh yeah,
like I already had that kind of keyed in of oh he's the same voice as Mr. Opportunity in the Honda commercials. Interesting.
I
Um,
remembered those. Yeah.
yeah. Uh, and so like making the connections and sort of drawing the line. Um, it was kind of a slow dip into like a prime example. I originally I got my first animation demo done by Toonhouse, which is run
Bill
by
Farmer?
Bill
Yeah.
Farmer and his son Austin and uh, uh, my good buddy Brock. And I didn't realize Bill Farmer was Goofy.
Yeah, I
So
was about to. Yeah, for those that
I
keep track.
coordinated with his son, Austin, to set up the time, like go sit down, discuss like what they brought to the table as demo producers, like really just find out more. And I walked into they invited me to their home. I walk in and I see all these pictures of Goofy and Pluto, and I'm just like, okay, this guy's obviously a sound engineer for Disney, or he's just got a huge passion for Goofy the dog. And so we sit down and I ask Austin, so like, what do you guys bring to the table outside of like, what makes you different than other voiceover demo production studios? And Austin was like, well, we write original copy for you. We really take it into advantage, like we take into account like what voices you do and your backgrounds and all that. And then we also like we originally scored. I'm a musician, and I go great. And then Bill goes, well, and I've been doing the voice of the goof now for about 30 years. And I'm like, oh,
Oh, that now
you're
that checks out. Okay.
yeah, the dots in my brain connected, and I was like, oh yes, I'm familiar with your work. And so that has been uh, that was sort of my kick in the pants to go. I should research some of the people's names at the credits of the cartoons I grew up
Yeah.
watching. So I kind of went backwards and I started listening to Talking Tunes with Rob Paulson, started listening to
Yeah.
Crispin Freeman's voice acting mastery,
Yeah. Yes, yes,
and
yes,
just
yes.
like try and I also watched I Know That Voice, which is the documentary done by
John.
uh,
Okay, I know his name. John
John
DiMaggio, or
DiMaggio,
was
yeah,
it? Yeah.
Bender
Okay.
and Jake the dog.
Yeah.
Um, and it's once I started to dive in, it was really starting to understand like all of the different both because in Chicago I did a lot of commercial work and not much else. When I moved here, I knew there were other opportunities like video games and animation. Uh, I hadn't even found out about things like looping, ADR. I knew about anime dubbing, but again, these were things that I didn't really know too much about. And so I dove in head first and started just consuming podcasts, learning the names, finding out, oh, that's who Nolan North is. Oh, I remember him doing the voice of the main character of Uncharted. Okay, great. I know who he is. Great. Um, uh, as well as, just so yeah, very long-winded way of saying yes, I have been inspired by quite a number of people, um, but I didn't really know who they were until I got after I had already gotten into voice acting.
I think I'm kind of like because I'm just kind of like an encyclopedia when it comes to knowing about the business
Mhm.
of voiceover. And I think Bob is kind of like the same way. Like when you mentioned Bob Bergen, he is also
Yeah,
kind of like, yeah, because I think he really knows the ins and outs of the industry. Like, if you were to pick his brain apart for hours on end, like, I'm in the Steve Bloom's Facebook group, and
yeah,
he
yeah,
is, I mean, he comments pretty frequently on there, and we would just ask, like, I just want to ask, specific questions and not just the generic same old, because, yeah.
yeah.
So it's like something that is like very specific or like, you know, not something that I'm too familiar with. And I'm just like, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Like, should
Hmm.
I da 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 da? And and it's all absolutely like if you join the Facebook group, you can pretty much get a lot of this for free. Like he does a lot of these Instagram videos for a little bit talking about
Oh yeah, I remember when Bob was
auditioning and
doing
yeah.
that.
Yeah, he was just doing a lot of that stuff, and you can still go on his Instagram and watch those videos. It's just
Hmm.
you're just gonna have to sort through a lot of them because it's a lot.
He's taught a
Yeah,
lot of lessons. It's true.
yeah,
Um, I
and I
think that
kind of take a lot from him when it comes to gratitude. Same with Rob and all
yeah.
these other guys that you mentioned.
Well, I
So I'm
mean,
sorry.
Rob, no, you're fine. I mean, this is two way. I will drone forever and ever.
Yeah.
I'm in voice acting. I like the sound of my own voice. Yeah, but I think what got to me is the fact that majority of the voice actors that I have gotten to know are very personable, and I think that's because for the longest time it was not a prestigious job. It was very much a you're doing a cartoon. It's only in the last, I would say, 15 years where you could have a modicum of fame doing this work. Um, so I have found just about everyone in the voiceover community that I've worked with just to be severely giving. Um, and yeah, I Bob is very smart. He used to be the SAG chair for voiceover for the longest time. I don't know if he still is, but that's why he's so knowledgeable about the industry. Yeah, I I should know that who our shop steward is, but yeah, and same thing with Debbie Derryberry. I know I
Yeah.
brought up a couple times. Lori Allen, uh, Richard Tatum. It's
Aaron
funny.
Fitzgerald is another good one. Yeah.
Hmm. But I think kind of go back to a question you asked in the last segment about like getting used to being in LA is
Yeah.
that first year's just the oh my God, I'm here. And then passing like celebrities as you walk by. And
Mm.
A-listers, B-listers, like I was sitting down at Tender Greens and my buddy who'd been in LA for the last 10 years goes, "Hey, check that out. That's Weird Al." Like, "Oh, well, what do I do?" He goes, "Nothing. Just that's Weird Al. Weird Al is right over there." Like, "Okay, cool." Um, and
What did you like? I'm just like, what would you do if
nothing.
somebody like were? Yeah.
He's eating lunch with his family. He wants nothing from
Yeah.
you. And so
Yeah.
that is
Fair.
but that's sort of that getting used to being in LA element that starts to slowly form over time is none of these people are quote unquote above you. Um, they're all human beings, and if you treat them like human beings, then there's a high likelihood they'll treat you like a human being back. So the fact that you have like access to Bob Bergen, who has been the voice of Porky Pig forever,
I,
on
to be
Facebook.
to this day, I still have. I had him on the show, and I still to this day have no idea how I'm able to. These people just. I mean, I'm just really grateful that they take the time to just chat and stuff like that. But I'm just like, wow, I can't believe I actually talked to this person on my show. To be
Yeah,
honest,
well,
yeah,
and that is sort of that. Sorry, I'm just going to message my wife and ask her to turn off the stove.
yeah, definitely do that.
Yeah, thanks. Uh, but yeah, it's it took a lot. It took a bit of time for me to get over that celebrity-esque gasping moment,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's good. Like it's like when so for a great example is Richard Tatum. I started off by just taking improv classes with him at this little theater called the Impro Theater. It's in Los Feliz, so close to downtown LA. And he's an amazing onstage performer. I also have a really good background. And I found out, hey, like, we actually get along as people. And then I found out, like, oh, you're the voice of a ton of stuff. Like, you've been doing this since I was a kid. And so it is kind of breaking that, crossing that Rubicon. And, like, yeah, here I am chatting at my buddy Richard Tatum's wedding, talking with Bob Bergen about goodness knows what. And I don't know, that was when I realized that I was living in LA and working in LA versus still a tourist.
yeah. I think I kind of had that because in all of my life, I visited all these places in LA, but I
Hmm.
didn't really know that I would actually be in show business until like years later, just
Yeah.
doing the podcast and then just doing voice acting and just working with, all these amazing people and just meeting them at conventions, which is
Hmm.
kind of like, I know that when it comes to on the topic of conventions, it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, I know that there's like this VO Atlanta thing that just happened, and
Oh yeah,
yeah, where a lot of these voiceover stuff just be popping up every so often. I think here in LA, it's the Sylvise that they do in December
yeah.
that I always
It's
been wanting to go to, but I just never really found the. It's not that I don't have the money, but it's just the timing because of the holiday season. I'm just always.
yeah.
But
I mean,
I'd
you're
like to start doing these just
yeah.
for like, hey, I mean, they're great if you want to, just say, hey, I've also done this and,
Mhm.
just making all of these genuine connections and not be like, oh my gosh, so if I make friends with this person, I'm just totally going to be familiar. No, nothing like that. But just, like I said, just like you were talking about, just be nice, genuine, and,
Be a human being.
be a human being.
Hmm.
Exactly. And they're great, especially for those of us that are introverts. And I know a lot
Yeah.
of us just, yeah. But at the end of the day, it's something that I've to learn along the way where it's like, look, if you wanted to really just grow a business and just do a lot of this other stuff, you gotta have to break out of your comfort zone, break out of your shell and talk to these people, which trust me, I know I'm saying this right now, but yeah, it can be harder, much easier said than done. That's all I'll say about
Hmm.
it. But it's fine when you really
Yeah.
get those little opportunities,
Hmm.
every so often. So I just keep rambling on. So if you want to say something, just please, just
No,
I'm in.
I I have also not gone to a Nava event. I
Yeah, Nava, they're great.
They are. It's not that
Yeah,
I don't want to
shout out
go.
to
It's
Tim and the everyone, Karen, everyone.
yeah, my I yeah, shout outs to them. I think my only reason for unable being unable to go to their events is again I had a kid in the last year, and
Yeah,
so their gala sounded amazing. It was also a little outside of my praise range at that moment, as well as timing was not great. And then same thing with VO Atlanta. Like I would love to go to Atlanta and meet all the people that went out there
I
from Los Angeles to party in Atlanta.
I just can't really travel outside of California at the moment.
No, I get that, and I similarly, it's like okay, it's that question of where are you investing your time and money. So, like for example,
Exactly, yeah.
what I
Yep.
did was I took because it was a timing thing with the Sovas Awards is and the whole conference is they had a silent auction, and the auction was, and this kind of goes back to like setting myself up for the beginning of 2025. This auction had bundled coaching packages, so like an hour session with Lori Allen, an hour session with Kristen Paeva, who's this amazing coach and casting director. Um, uh,
Kristen's great.
talk to Tada Talent. Like I took the money that would have gone towards those tickets and just went, okay, this is my budget for this auction, and I I put my money where it made the most sense for me and walked out with like, well, I've got my first 6 months of the year. I try to do at least two coachings or classes or workshops a year or a month, and I had the first 6 months covered because I had gone in and put all the money towards that. So even if you can't make the events themselves, there are other ways to still invest your time into making those connections. And in some ways,
Sure.
it's better to do that via something like this or something like one-on-ones because at those conventions there's a tendency of you see so many people over such a quick period of time that you walk away going, I met 1,000 people. We all talked about how much we loved voice acting. Could not pick any of them out of a crowd. So, so yeah,
That's why it's so important to just take the time to just have fun and not
yes.
just be all business, business. Just trust me, I have to learn that. I mean, I'm still learning. All of us are learning every
Hmm.
day. So, yeah, I don't think I mentioned my inspirations, but I
Yeah.
mean, I'll just share real quick. Like we were talking about, people like Mel Blanc. I mean, obviously the go-to one, but also Dawes Butler,
Mm.
Paul Frees, June Foray. Just if we're gonna talk like
The
the
golden age.
golden,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think for right now, it's like, and I know we were just kind of talking beforehand about Amber who interviewed you. Like
Hmm.
Frank Welker is just kind of like
Oh yeah.
I think he's pretty much her all-time favorite actor, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I just wanted to mention Frank real quick because I know he's another one that is just Scooby-Doo since like 1969, man. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
Fred. He voiced Fred, but then took over for Scooby after Don Messick, and a couple
Hmm.
of other ones did Scooby, but I think Frank is kind of like the most well known after Don. So,
Hmm.
yeah, it was Frank. Jim Cummings is another one. Uh, and I actually had the pleasure of meeting him a few weeks ago and tuning into his podcast, which is also another great one that you should check out. Rob Paulson, like I said, Tom Kenny, just if I were to list everybody, we would just kind of be here all if we have to.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess another resource, good book that you should read. The voice lessons that he did is also really good, but also Yuri Lowenthal and Tara Platt's the
Voiceover,
voice.
voice actor. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had them sign it recently because I also just finally met them. So they're just seriously, you just meet so many different people in the industry, and you just never know, like just how absolutely giving that they are, like you were talking about, and just the kindness that they give to the fans and people. I mean, Steve Bloom literally has a Facebook group. He has an
Hmm.
entire like Boombox community. I mean, look, I think it just really kind of speaks for itself. It's just like, oh, you could just praise and talk about somebody all you want, but it's I think they often say that actions really do speak louder than words, and the work that they've done over the years just really kind of speaks for themselves. So I can't really sing their praises enough. So
Yeah.
yeah, it really does speak for itself. But I think with that said, we are kind of approaching the end of this. So if there's anything else that you want to just talk about, like anything that you want to share, not under NDA, I don't know, promote your stuff, whatever, social media, all that
um,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, nothing. Watch Bugs Bunny Builders on HBO or on Max because that's out and no longer under NDA. I do have a feature length movie coming out to Netflix that I cannot mention
Hey.
until it comes out, but it should be coming out
Ooh.
in May.
Okay.
So once that comes out, I guess watch this space. My Instagram is at JB Steins. I think that sounds right. I should know
Sounds
that.
about right.
Yeah. Uh, but yeah, other than that, it's hopefully more projects and stuff to announce further down the road. But right now, those are the two that I can talk about.
Yeah, right on. And yeah, this was a lot of fun. I really loved having you, man. And I'm so glad once again that we finally made this work
Me too.
miraculously. Yeah. Any last words? Anything you want to close out with?
Uh,
Advice?
Support the SAG strike, support live theater, and yeah, that's those are my two big takeaways.
Yeah. And have you I know that you're kind of doing voiceover like full time now, but would you like to consider going back into doing the theater and all
Oh, I
this?
never stopped. Yeah, I just don't make any money off of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still do shows from time to time at the Improv Theater. There's funny enough, a ballet company I uh, sit in with. I'm not a dancer. It's a long story we don't have time to go through, but um,
Yeah.
I sit in with them every year for their production of the Nutcracker. And then, yeah, other on-camera opportunities I take advantage of. But yeah, voiceover is sort of the bread and butter of it all. So,
Nice. Yeah, with everything. What is something that you kind of like to do? I mean, you also have a family, so what is something fun that you also like
oh,
kind of do?
well, I don't know if most people consider this fun, but I'm running my fourth marathon in 2 months.
That's
So,
fine. Yeah,
yeah,
that's good. Yeah.
yeah.
Got to get that
So
exercise.
it's the perfect time for me to shut off my brain and shut out the world.
Yeah, just like got to get back into the gym, exercise, go full on gym, not
Hmm.
gym, bro, but just gotta stay fit and active. That's
Oh
super
yeah.
important. A lot of the stuff we do is physical, like acting, voice acting. A lot of it is just, I mean, they put it best, like basically portraying the character. It just kind of comes out and follows from. Also stealing this from Bob. So if you watch this, Bob, be a buddy. Yeah, plug. But
Yep. Hey, Bob.
anyways, yeah, hi Bob. But anyways, let's see. Would you like to do an outro? Because I typically ask like, hey, my name is John Stiens. I've got this, and this is Station Square with Robert Jackson, something like that. That's kind of typically the outro that I do for my show, if you don't mind
Yeah, go
participating.
ahead and do your outro.
Yeah. First you gotta say your name,
Oh,
work
sure.
it then. Yeah, plug.
Hey,
Yeah.
this is John Steins. You can hear me in Bugs Bunny Builders as Fosse Ferret, a bunch of different characters in Genshin Impact, and more work to come.
And this is Station Square with Robert Jackson and John. We're here. So that's one take. You know what? It's every day's a rehearsal, improv. So what can I
Gotcha.
say? Yeah, thank you so much, man. It's such a huge pleasure. And anything, I don't know if there's anything else I want to say, but yeah, just support 2D animation once again, support strike actors, no AI junk. Don't need that. One more shout out, Peter Cullen. That's also my other big one, inspiration. So yeah, I know Amber is probably going to be disappointed if I don't mention him, but yeah, thank you for watching. And this is Robert, this is John, and this is Station Square Podcast. So with that, goodbye, good night, and would you like to say a goodbye as yourself or a character?
Goodbye, everybody.
Yep. Good night, everybody. Bye bye. Good night, everybody.